What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Future Knight Eric here with our Yu-Gi-Oh! Day winner. Who are you and what did you play?
Hi, I'm Byron, and I played Tri-Brigade Zoo.
Very, very cool. How did the day go for you? What were your matchups? How did the deck perform? Is there anything that you would have changed, throughout the day, aside from the deck? And just your experience for the day. How did it go?
The experience is awesome. Always love. It was my first time properly doing remote duels online because we've at least been having locals like every week. So it was a new experience, but it went quite well. It was 4 rounds. My matchups were round 1. I played Duel, Invoke, Dogmatic. Round 2 was blind second Zoodiac. Round 3 was Salomon Great, and round 4 was Prank Kids. I went undefeated. I think most of my matches were 2-0. I think I might have dropped a game, but otherwise, yeah, the deck performed amazingly. Definitely best deck of the format.
That's very, very cool. Well, then do you just want to get into the deck profile? Show off the spice.
Sure. So, starting off, you have your Tri-Brigade engine. Pretty standard, so 3 of each of the Tri names and then 2 Karas. You only play 2 Karas because it's not actually a starter on its own. It is really good to see with, for example, Kit or thing, but when it starts becoming 2-card combo-y, it's not really playing into the deck strengths.
Okay, and their strength obviously is being such a powerful or consistent one-card combo.
Yeah, you get a lot of flex slots. That's definitely where the deck shines. It grinds really well, and you have the opportunity to play a lot of cards to counteract the meta.
Okay, very cool. So that's just the standard lineup, I would say.
It's pretty standard. In order of the best, Fractal's obviously your best to open. Kit's your second because you can link away and dump. Nerval, you have to play 3 for the grind, and then obviously the Karas, just because it's the way you extend through boards.
I was about to say, I've seen the Karas being a form of, playing through a bunch of negates with the other Tri-Brigades, getting them in the grave.
The problem is, if your deck can only normal summon once and someone judgments your summon, you just lose, or they seals bounce your summon, you lose. Karas is your way to get around that.
100%.
Next up, we had the deck's normal summons.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I did this a little differently to most people. So most people are on the Cat or the Zoo package. They don't really mix or match these. But the way it works for me, right, is Cat is by far the best normal summon in the deck because on its own, it's full combo. Because obviously you get your 2 tries and you get to dump the search. You don't need any other tries in your hand. Whereas the Zoos on their own don't really do anything. But the thing that I really did like about the Zoo engine was the utility of Tanky. So a lot of people that play the Zoo engine are on the three Thoroughblades, so they can open 2 Zoos. Because the only way it really combos is if you get the Chuck and 9 dump. So Rat's obviously the best one. But the problem that I was finding is that a Cat's obviously really good, but then if you open a Tanky and a Fractal, it doesn't do anything. So I liked the idea of this also being combo, and then Zeus going second is really good. So I kind of went for the best of both worlds. So as opposed to 3 Cats, it became 2 Cat and 1 Rat. And then the Tankies could also just be Rat, and then this would be the only quote-unquote brick. But obviously if you open Rat as well, it's combo.
I see. And then what about Barrage and Whiptail? Why did you decide not to play those?
Okay, so Whiptail, because I wanted to cut down on the Zoo package because you don't want to open a hand of normals. So the Cats took the place of the Whiptail. And then I'll show you where the Barrage is in the side, and I'll explain it to you in a bit.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, next up we had the hand trap lineup. So 3 Ash, best hand trap of the format. 3
Best
Gamma.
hand trap of every format.
Yeah, it really is. If you're not playing Ash, you're not doing this right. It's live in every match, even if it's to stop a pot. Pots right now are just so plussy. You can't let people resolve 2 extra cards in their hand in any deck. It's just a huge problem. So this is super necessary.
Yeah.
Gamma is really good. Wasn't good in the deck before. Is good in the deck now. Because you have a lot of cards that you can protect. So the Cat normal summon when you tribute it. If they Ash it, then you get to
oh wow!
Negate with Gamma and then continue comboing. So it's much stronger in the Cat version than the Zoo version, just because you don't want to have monsters in the field. Gamma, in my opinion, only really shines in a deck when it's good going first and second.
Okay.
3 Imperms, literally a 3rd best hand trap in the game. Veiler's also really good this format. It hits a lot. This hits your Drytron matchup. This hits the Tri Mirror. This hits a lot of decks really well. But the big thing about Imperman, it's like my favorite thing about the card is it doesn't trigger talents.
Yeah.
Like, talents is such a strong card this format. It's just game winning. Like if they have the ability to either draw two to extend through, or if they already have the hand and then they get to take away your starters and they get hand knowledge, it's just way too much to deal with.
Also, the fact that it can't be called by and
Yeah, called by for sure, for sure. I mean, look,
yeah,
yeah, I can't gather it as well. Like I don't know. There's a lot of like reasons behind it. It also like lets you play around like floodgates if you like survive a turn, because most decks running floodgates aren't fast enough to kill you. So you can always
yeah.
like set it in the same column and then get your turn to play and then break boards and win. So very, very like strong utility card, and it's live as your sixth card. So always,
Can I
always
ask, would you at any point change out some of the hand traps for, I suppose, more going first cards? So like I know a lot of combo decks or like mid range decks, like we were saying, sort of running a mixture of hand traps and then like going first cards like strikes, because strikes you can also set and then break a board with. Torrentials set, break a board with. Would you ever consider switching them out, or would you rather
Not
stop them from
this.
establishing a board?
I was gonna say not this format. The problem with this, for the reason like every deck right now is in like 12 to 15 hand traps or whatever, is literally because one, there's like such a variety in the meta, so you don't have something that hits everything. But two, like if Drytron combos, you're in so much trouble. So yeah, it's quite important to be able to prevent your opponent from setting up a board, and then it's also nice to not have to commit your entire hand to the field. So if you like set up a board and someone evenly matches you, because this deck doesn't set up Omni Negates, you just wind up losing your board.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I feel
in
you.
the case of you having like then an Ash or like a Gamma or like stuff that people wipe your board, you can at least then continue to play. So I don't like committing my entire hand to the board unless you have a way to protect that board.
Yeah, 100%. Okay.
Next up, more going second cards. I was on 3 droplets. South Africa's meta has way too many Shadol players. Like
Yeah.
Shadol Invokes like by far the most popular. Shadol Invoke Dogmatics by far the most popular deck here, and Winder is a problem. This card also helps deal with Drytron. Like they have a lot of resources, but it gives you a chance to at least play through it. So yeah, it's really really good. This like performed really well on the weekend. Next up, triple prosperity.
Okay, so what was the theory behind playing Prosperity over what's, I guess, is more commonly played, being Desires?
So
Yeah.
the big thing, I think Desires was really good in the Zoo engine, where the more cards you saw in the hand was better, but now you kind of want to see the right cards in your hand. So I played a lot with both, but I think the biggest problem in my opinion with Desires is it messes with your deck building. Like it becomes really, really risky to play 2 Revolt if you're on 3 Desires. Because if you lose your Revolts first hand, like it hurts a lot. If you lose your 2 Karases, it hurts a lot. If you like, so the extra card is nice, but it punishes you a lot. It punishes a lot in like the ratios you have to choose for your deck, because you're playing multiples of cards you really don't want to have to play multiples of. And then the other thing that Prosperity is really, really good at is post-siding at the moment. Like with all the, I'll explain a bit more when I get to my side deck, but like post-siding, this card is just so much stronger than, like when you have the choice to dig 6 for something that you need to like stop a deck from being able to like combo or break your board, this card becomes like considerably more powerful. So this card I think was probably mandatory in the builds now, especially now that we're going to like the cat format, just because you got to look for the right card. Sometimes you need to dig for a Gamma to protect your cat, or dig for a called by, or like. And again, I really like Gamma with this, because if they do try Droll or Ash or like Lancier in standby or whatever, then the Gamma then again is like a protective card going first.
Yeah. And then because everyone is going to ask, what are your Prosperity targets when you're banishing 6 or 3 from the get-go?
Okay, look, it really does depend on my hand. So if I don't see the Gamma, I banish the Omega. If I don't have to start Kit, I usually banish Almirage as well, because you need Almirage if you don't start Fractal.
Yeah.
So like then I'll banish this. If I'm going first, I might banish pieces of like the Zoo engine. But yeah, it's usually between these cards. Like depending on how it's going. If you really have to do the 6th, then I usually do either that or the Doom Eagle. But then if you're digging 6, it's like for a blowout card. So
Okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
you
Cool.
usually banish for 3. Oh, also, massive shout out to Roloff for lending me these. Wouldn't have been able to win without them. They were huge. Thanks, buddy.
Okay.
You're a legend.
Yes, definitely a legend amongst the South African community. You
Community,
can say
damn
that.
straight, damn straight. Next up, I had 2 cosmics in the main. A lot of mine running around at the moment, and your deck has no way to deal with Mystic Mine. Like, because when you try resolve Revolt to banish, it summons the
In a new
monsters
chain.
first, and it's in it exactly.
Mm.
Nothing actually hits the deck. This deck has no way, like I said, to set up spell trap negates. So I think personally, like, it's mandatory to play this because between Striker running it, going second, Dino, even that blind second Zoodiac player, like, there's like a huge need to have main deck outs to mine at the moment, at least in my opinion, if you're playing Tri-Brigades, because like losing a game 1 for no reason isn't really something you can get away with this format.
Yeah, definitely. Can I ask why not 3 and also why not twins, considering twins can trigger some of the tries in grave?
Okay, so twins are very, very good going second, but a little more expensive going first. Because you actually, going first, you do wind up like often vomiting your entire hand out onto the field. And then you, for lack of a better word, and then you do wind up searching follow-up during, like, so Revolt gets you follow. So you always do have cards in hand for next turn, but if you start needing to twin the cards that you have for your follow-up for next turn, then you're playing top deck Yu-Gi-Oh! Which I don't. So I do have twins in the side. I'll show now, but like I think Cosmic's better in the main. Also, it's like very strong to like hit cards like Engage or Schism and stop them from recurring it. So
Yeah,
it's like
definitely.
the stronger of the spells, and it's also this deck can play through a lot. Like unless somebody literally sets 5, you're not gonna like struggle to play through like 1 or 2 back rows. So like you kind of want to save these for like power or dangerous cards.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
the Schism, and so yeah, this was definitely very good. Why not 3? Because I was on the one order as
Oh,
well.
wow. In the main, that's very, very
Yes.
interesting. Okay.
Striker's actually quite a difficult matchup for this deck. Like they both play very similar styles of wanting to slow the game down and grind with the pressure of like an access code OTK, and Striker actually does do it better. I think this deck is less bricky than Striker, and has a lot better matchups against a lot of the other decks of the format, because if you make Striker go first, like you can play through their board 9 times out of 10. You make Tries go first and you're going to get punished for it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, I did want a main deck 1 order, and I personally at the moment, I've been sacked by Mystic Mine kind of recently, and it was like that they put mine on board, and then they put the card that stacks your deck for 3, and I just started top decking. I realized like 2 twins in the main, because they can stack 3. I think it's like Oracle of something or another.
Yeah.
Because they stack your deck for 3, you actually have no actual way to draw an out if you've only got 2 main deck mine outs. So like 3 did seem right for this format, but like order is also just so good going first, especially with like I was saying with Shadol invoked and stuff in the format. Like they break your deck with spells, the monsters don't do anything. Like so you like a resolve an order against that deck and you just win.
No,
So,
that's incredible.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
this card was, I mean, I didn't see it as much as I would have liked, but when I saw it, it was
I mean, it
game.
is at 1.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. But you see, that's the other reason this card is so
good.
so
Yeah.
flipping good. Like you can like dig, like I was saying, in the matchups of Striker, you don't really care about anything if you can get to your orders and stuff, and that's when you can start looking to dig 6 as opposed to 3.
Definitely. Okay. That never conflicted you with you resolving any like prosperities or cosmics or
Not
anything
at all.
like that?
Like if mine has, I mean, so it has to be on the field. So short of me, like the only thing I think maybe happened was on the field and I drew a tanky, but I was already winning the game.
Yeah.
Like,
So it was
this
like
deck card hurts other decks way more than it hurts ours. Like it doesn't really do much to this deck.
Definitely.
Then one called by.
Obviously.
Yeah, not much to say about that. You got to run it.
Yeah.
It's that one for a reason. Defensive, offensive. It's the whole package. And then 2 Tri-Brigade Revolt.
Okay. Why not 3?
So in the Desires build, you had to run 3 because you couldn't afford to banish it. But you want to really be searching this card more than you're opening it. Otherwise, you're just like kind of giving up the free resources you'd have anyway. So it's 2 because 2 does sometimes come up in the grind, like not often, but like it does come up like once or twice. It's more if they don't let you resolve the first off a ball or something.
Yeah.
Hard opening it isn't bad going first, is pretty bad going second because it doesn't really do anything to help you break the board. And if you don't start resolving try effects, then you don't actually have it set up either. So yeah, that was like one of the big reasons I think Prosperity was better as well. Like I said, you could afford to play 2 of this, and you can afford to play 2 Karas, and you can like afford to like you can get away with a lot more things in your deck building.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
Okay,
I actually
cool.
usually going second side, one out as well. Like you
I
do
was
need
actually,
one if
I
you
was
break
about
a
to
board,
ask you.
but like yeah, this
Yeah, I
is
was
one of the
about to
cards
ask.
yeah.
Do you side one out? Because I know a lot of people on the desires build do side one out going second. Because, like
Yeah.
you said, seeing it going second, it's almost well
Yeah,
not
but you
dead,
do
but
say that
it's
the big thing is often you'll break a
yeah,
board and not be able to OTK.
yeah,
And in that case, you need to search this for the next turn because this is like you need to reset your banish to your grave and you need to like resolve it. Otherwise, you don't actually get to play Yu-Gi-Oh.
yeah.
Next up, let's do extra.
Sure.
Zoo package with Zeus.
Cool,
So
cool,
like I said, the
cool.
thing I really liked about Tenki was the utility because it's not just Rat going first, but it's Zeus going second,
Yeah,
which is really good. And then
definitely.
obviously the Chaka 9 for the combo to discard, reborn, and then stack your grave.
Yeah,
Um, access code. I want to say, like, I didn't play this card, like, I got it quite recently. I didn't play this card, but I kind of want to say it's mandatory for the deck. Like,
yeah.
you get to, like, just because almost any normal summons a one card access code, like, once your grave's stacked, you just summon banish for 3, summon either the Doom Eagle or the. Summon either the Doom Eagle or the Silver Shadow, and then you just
Okay.
make access code and start popping boards. So, like, it's really free, really strong in this deck. Often the way you go for game, you can also make it with Omen, and then you get the 6k attack, which is huge.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Is there, for budget players out there, would you consider a Boral Sword or would you consider the Zeraboros, the Trisbania? Because I know a lot of people are replacing it with the Zeraboros because it's you banish so much in the deck, it gets the attack boost
Attack
anyway.
boost, yeah,
and you,
for sure.
yeah,
I'd probably
yeah,
go something like that. I wouldn't recommend Boral Sword because like the biggest actual thing you need access code for is breaking the board. So I can
yeah,
understand the Zeroboros because you get to like nuke back row if you can like stall them and you just like banish the field.
yeah.
But like even I don't know, I might even like say Unicorn or Phoenix or something because this deck needs out to like flag gates and it needs out to like so you want your like normal summon to be able to pressure those kind of things. So it's not
Yes.
that you have a problem putting up damage or big monsters and stuff. This deck does that quite easily. Like all your stuff are like 3k plus. So I would never say sword. Also 3 monsters is like a huge. The thing that makes the deck so
Commitment.
strong is that one monster banish 3, then it's 2. Like your one monster becomes a link 4. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't say Boros. So Zeraboros I could see. I mean access code definitely is really strong, but Zeraboros would probably be the budget
The
alternative.
replacements.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Then you have best card in the deck by far. I don't know what the hell. This thing is non-targeting removal and a search. So
It's
I mean,
correct.
yeah, I don't know. Like, you
Arrows
just
are
kind of,
good.
one thing I can advise to Tri-Brigade players is always make sure when you resolve, like unless you really can't afford to, like when you resolve Revolt, always leave one Tri-Beast banished. So when they're out this, you can search a Nerval. Because this guy only searches up to the number of Tri-Beasts you have banished. So you don't want to like bring back your entire banish pile and set it. And then use that and then link it into the graveyard because then if they're out this, you're just losing free resources. So it's always better to, rather than try to get as many banished targets as possible, have one banished just so if this guy does leave the field, you get more resources.
Right. Cool. Very good tip there. That's awesome. And he looks crazy as well.
He looks
It's
so
such an
cool.
awesome card.
The cards that you mostly end on when you go first, I must be honest, like your
should
combos
be
are
called-
always
It should
Appaloosa,
be called
Revolt.
Tri-Brigade, Tri-Brigade
Yeah.
Appaloosa.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't know where the deck would be without it, I must be honest. Like this, if access code was kind of mandatory, this is completely mandatory. Like you really
Yeah.
need Appaloosa. Your end boards are always the Appaloosa Revolt, sometimes Appaloosa Revolt Dragon Lords. It's also super important to be able to protect your Revolt from resolving because everybody's on Bull at the moment.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing scarier when you don't get to do the Appaloosa combo and you're sitting there trying to activate Revolt and you see your opponent chain Bull and you're like, well, that's like just too much negging right now. There's just no way you're going to pull back from that.
Yeah, 100%.
You usually
Awesome
wind up
card.
making it for 3 as well, and the really thing is like a lot of decks you can make it for 3, but it's only worth 1 negate because then they beat over it. But because Revolt can protect it and like the Dragon Lords can protect it, you often, more than often, get to use all 3 negates. So it's not like decks where like it's on 800 they'll just summon something and beat over it because you're going to non-targeting banish or bounce inside the battle phase.
Yeah.
So
it's actually getting the most value
you get
in a
lot
deck
of
like this.
value out of like this and maybe like PKs with the fog blades to protect. Like you get a lot of value out of Appaloosa in this deck.
Awesome.
The 2 Tri-Brigade Link
Best
2, yeah. I really wish I could have played 2. There just wasn't space, but I wish I could play 2 of this. And like, it actually comes up a lot when your board gets broken and you're trying to like pressure through stuff. Because when you link this in a Tri-Beast away, you get the search from him. And then if you link it into this, and you get to just special summon whatever you search. So like one monster starts becoming like extremely fussy for damage and like how much you can do on the board. So you would like summon a monster, banish for non-targeting banish, link, search, use her effect to special summon, and then just continue playing. Maybe make the access code and then go for game.
Would you maybe consider cutting one of the Zoodiac extra deck monsters for a second one of her?
So I was considering that for quite a while, but you need the I think the 4 material Zeus is
So
really
strong.
like a 2 material Zeus is, it just becomes a board breaker but no follow up.
Yeah.
So I think the 4 material Zeus is really important. But like if I could find, it might be like the Omega is really good, but if I were to cut something for a second one of these, it would be the Omega. But it's just also so good, this format, to pressure when they hand trap you and then take another card out of their hand with the Gamma, especially because everyone's on so many hand traps at the moment. And those hand traps play into Gamma really hard between the Lancia, the Droll, the Ash,
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, the cat being off the field also helps a lot. And then Bearbrim, do you ever find yourself needing a second, or is the one?
No. So she's definitely fine at 1. Like I think I was gonna say, for me, the thing that separates like often good and bad Tri-Brigade players is when they start using her effect to do the discard 2 to keep making your board extend. Like people often forget she's got an on-field effect, which is actually really good, especially when you're trying to go for game. I wouldn't play more than 1. Resolving Revolt once is usually game, and if you're getting to turn 3 already, you're probably pushing for damage instead of searching for a Revolt anyway. So if they hand trap this turn 1, then you don't get the Revolt, but by the time you get to turn 3, you're going to be pushing for your access code play anyway. So I don't think I'd play more of her. I don't really see it coming up, especially like definitely the second Ferrigite rather. Double Dragon Lords, really good card. Absolutely awesome. Also awesome that it's wind, so like if you play against wind barrier statues or whatever, you get a pressure into this. Also makes like Fractal a 1 card out to Winder, because you just discard, summon, banish 2 for this, and then bounce, and then so absolutely awesome. Like awesome card. Like great utility. Like often helps when you get like hand trapped really badly or your board gets removed. Like sometimes this is all you can end on, and sometimes it's enough. So a solid card.
It also triggers, because it sends from field or hand to activate its effects to bounce back. So you can also send tries to get the effects engraved, I believe, correct?
Yes, you can. But the most important thing, I think, is probably sending tanky, because then you get like really good value for your like tankies and your resources. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like this card actually comes up like mostly like also when you get trolled and stuff, because when you get trolled, you can't really resolve Bear Bloom to search your Revolt. So then you kind of still want to make a board. So you kind of try set up like this in Apo. That's the play from there. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Last 2 cards.
Yeah, the ones we already spoke about.
Kind of self-explanatory. If you get hand trapped, then you just get it like absolutely nuke their hand. let them hand nuke themselves for 2. This comes up a lot if you brick. That's why it's in the deck. Like if you have like really awkward hands, like if you have like a Keras and or if you even just have a kit or whatever, sometimes you just normal, you link 1, you start like stacking your grave for resources, and you get like search the Keras, and you can discard another Tri-Beast to play from there, or like. So it is kind of mandatory, but if you'll know the hands where you don't need it, and that's when you can probably banish it off Extrav. But yeah, it's there to prevent bricks.
Can I ask, what are your thoughts on 1-for-1 in the main and a link Rebo in the extra for sort of another way to play through the gates or hand traps?
I don't know. I would say you have so many ways because the problem with 1-for-1 is you're going to be like losing a card in your hand. And then you do get a monster on board, but you don't have a stacked graveyard. Like the deck doesn't do anything unless like you'd have to open 1-for-1 kit for it to actually be worth any kind of value to the deck, because you don't do anything unless you have names engraved. For the same reason, like playing 3 Karas is probably not correct. Like Karas is amazing when you open it with kit, and then you open it with like something else, and it doesn't do anything at all. So that would be my argument for that. I think it's a bit neggy and like a bit too situational for it to actually give you advantage.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's completely understandable. All right, this is the side now, so I think
Yes,
this is where the spice is.
there's definitely some spice in the side. So, three twins in the main. Quick play back row removal is way stronger than
Feather duster.
like any kind of like the Evenlees, the Lightning Storms. This hits Prank in the standby. This hits Shadol in the standby. Like so many decks now require their traps to resolve in the main. So the fact that you can like blow out combo decks because they're like not ready for it, and then also it's really nice siding and going first against your back row matchups like Geist or any of the Eldritch decks. So, yeah, I don't know. I definitely think the format right now is not for blowout back row removal, but for quick play back row removal, just because it hits monster decks, it hits everything. It's really, really well situated. I did play the one just because it does blow out. You do win games of it. Like I think this would, if I could have been a fourth twin, I'd play a fourth twin, but yeah, you can't. So like,
Why not the third cosmic?
Oh, okay. So the logic behind that is so cosmics in the main are fine because nobody's maining Lancia at the moment, but everyone's siding it. And there's nothing worse than if someone goes first and now you're playing through their board and they Lancia you on their turn. Because now you've lost your cosmics, you've lost your Tri-Brigade effects, you've lost your... So you now side in back row removal, say, against Shadows. They try to activate Schism, you chain cosmic, then they Lancia you. And now you can't actually play anywhere because you're under Lancia as well. So like you just neg way too hard into one card.
Okay, I see what you mean.
That's so cosmics in the main I thought were fine because no one's main. Like I genuinely, if people start maining Lancia, you're gonna have to swap to MST or something. Like it just it is what it is. Like if your deck loses to Lancia, don't play cards that make it lose to Lancia harder. That was the logic behind that.
Okay, interesting.
3 nib, kind of important at the moment. There's a lot of like combo decks running around. It's good against Drytron with the right hands. It's good against Salad. Salad's back. It's good against Frank.
It's not good against Tri.
Not at all. Not at all. Like I don't even know how you'd make Appaloosa an under 5 summons in this deck. I'm not even sure how you'd be able to do that. Like the deck makes Appo before 5 summons. They have the Bear Bloom anyway. If you have the Imperm, then you've switched to Appaloosa off anyway, so you're just kind of then nibbing an Appaloosa that's not doing anything, and then they have Revolt. So I must be honest, not good against Tri at all, but there are a lot of decks that it is good against. That's also why it's in the side, because it's not good against Shadows, it's not good against Striker, but it is good against Salad, it is good against, it's like mandatory for Dragon Link, it's good against Prank Kids, it's good against Ignista as well, which is quite a strong deck at the moment. 3-roll, Drytron hate.
Yeah, there's I think mandatory in everyone's side at the moment.
It's not negotiable. This card is like it's just so powerful. It's really good against Shadol Invoked. It's sometimes good against Strike. Like it can do a lot against a lot of decks, but it is in here mainly for Drytron. Like you need those one-hand traps that just end their turn because the deck's boards are very, very unfair if they do get to resolve. So, Then first I had three anti-spell. So
how did this do?
Really, really well. So like I said, the deck's biggest problem is it doesn't set up omnis, so spell and traps just break your board. So going second for when you're going first, like Shadol Invoked, if they see Shadol Fusion, Nadir Servant, Tactical Talents, like your board gets absolutely ripped apart for no reason. But that's the only way they rip your board apart. So if you can resolve anti-spell and standby or order, this basically becomes 3 more copies of order. That's what it's in here for. And then again with the extravagances, that's what I'm saying. Like extravagance, really, really strong off deciding. You get a dig for these in order. Striker, like I said, quite a hard matchup. Auto win, Shadol Invoked, hard matchup. So the decks that hurt, the decks that I feel can break this deck's board are decks that run powerful like power spells, like the Nadir Servant, like the Shadol's Fusion. There's just not much you can really do to stop there, like Striker when they start getting going. So really, really, really good this weekend. Like I said, you see it a lot more than you think you would because with 3 of it, the 1 order, and then the 3 extra, you're kind of running 7 copies. Yeah. So you get away with a lot.
That's very, very cool. I've myself have been testing with it as well, and it's very, very strong. Like you said, against even decks that don't play too many spells, it's just the spells they do play are so powerful that
I'll give you like an example of a weird deck that like comes up quite a lot is if you're playing against zombies as well. Like if Zombie World hits the field, your Tri-Beast, you can't resolve Revolt anymore. You can't like So you struggle a lot with Tri-Beast, like preventing any kind of spells from going off in that deck as well, stopping like it's a really, really good. Stopping the super polys against decks like Shadol because they can't get their normal summon on board to poly with your board away. Like normal Alistair and then like super poly get the Raijin with your Appaloosa. So because your end board doesn't end on anything that can be just straight super polyed. So they need to like have the summons like Shadols and stuff. So yeah, absolutely awesome card.
Okay.
Then the last two cards on the side were
there it is.
Yeah, there's the barrage. So the reason it's in the side is it's not great going first at all, because the problem is you can't trigger your rat effect. Rat needs to be normal summoned. So just putting a Tri-Beast on board doesn't actually do anything for your deck. But going second, it's a Zeus without a normal summon, which is absolutely cracked. They're both in here for more or less the same things. It's mostly for like back row matchups where you're like struggling to play through a board. If they have 2 strikes and you can't get to you, because remember the deck can only actually ever summon twice. You have your normal summon and you have your summon of Karas.
Yeah.
So other than that, you can't do anything. So if they save 2 strikes for that, or like a multi-faker, a silk bounce or anything for 1 and a strike for the other, you don't get to play. And then if you can like slap this down, make the double material Zeus, you'll win against any of those decks anyway, because back row can't deal with Zeus at all.
Yeah. No, that's okay. That's definitely that definitely makes sense why it's in the side. And then that's pretty much the whole deck. That is very, very cool. Well done once again for coming first at the UGA tournament, and thank you for joining me and showing off the profile, Byron. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.
All right. Thanks so much, Byron. Have a good one. Future Night and Byron signing out.
Cheers, guys.